This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The Pistons did end up making a trade over the deadline, but it wasn't the one that we really were expecting, or honestly, we only talked about this player being on the move very little, on our show at least. I mean, we talked about him together, but it was one that kind of threw me by surprise.
Yeah, because we talked about how, like, it's not like he's an immovable player, but at the same time, you might not get the value you want at this stage in the season for him.
Right. And I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on the trade. Some positive, some negative, but we'll get into that, along with some power rankings came out for the NFL, along with coinciding with the future Super Bowl odds for next season. We're going to find out where the Lions land in both categories, but this is the Fan Report where it's by fans.
I can't believe football's done. For fans.
I'm your host, Nick, and my co-host, Andrew, is with me as well.
Yo.
This is episode number 192. We are brought to you by Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast, where you can find them on Twitter. You can follow us at Real Fan Report. Now that the business work is out of the way, let's hop into some trade deadline talk here.
The business.
The business. The Pistons traded Saddiq Bey to... It was a whole mess, but they traded Saddiq Bey to the Warriors along with Kevin Knox, who then the Warriors turned around, traded him to Atlanta, and I don't know where Kevin Knox ended up going. I think, was it Portland?
Yes.
And the Warriors got, I think, they gave up 5 draft picks for Gary Payton II.
No, I think they got...
I thought they gave up the 5 second-round picks for Gary Payton.
No, because that's what they got for... I think they got that to give up Saddiq.
Why would they have to give... I don't know.
Let me get the trade back
I
up.
think they got that to get Saddiq. Then they gave those up to get Gary Payton II. I think. I could be wrong on that, but it was very confusing. But in return, the Pistons ended up getting James Wiseman, the former number 2 overall pick from the same draft as Saddiq Bey, from the Golden State Warriors. Now, this was met with immediate, total, catastrophic meltdown, if you were reading Pistons Twitter and Pistons Reddit, of epic proportions where you would have thought that we just drafted Darko again.
Yeah.
People were pissed. We were pissed. In all reality, like, our immediate reactions were, huh? Why?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, when you saw the name James Wiseman flash across the Woj bomb, I feel like most of Pistons Twitter, myself included, and I'm sure yourself included, Nick, was, okay, that's the start, but what else? Like, at no point did I ever think that it was just going to be Saddiq for Wiseman straight up, because Wiseman's trade value was, at least the way we perceived it, pretty much in the shitter. Like, he didn't get much playing time. He couldn't really earn his way onto the into the rotation.
Now, the one caveat with that is
he's had injury issues.
The caveat, and I'll play devil's advocate with you a little bit here. Saddiq Bey's trade value was also in the shitter.
Yeah. Oh no, agreed.
But he's not a good basketball player this year.
But like, it could have been Pistons fans overvaluing Saddiq, but everyone, at least on this side of town, thought that, Saddiq should net you maybe Wiseman plus something.
No, I will sit here right now and
there was a lot of people that thought you were getting moody with that too.
I'll sit here right now and tell you Saddiq Bey is not worth more than James Wiseman. Not on a trade market. I just don't think it was the right guy to go get.
Yes.
I think in terms of fair market value, they're about equal.
Yeah,
and Kevin Knox was a throwaway
at this exact point in time. Yes, yeah. At this exact point in time,
right.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that I'm kind of curious why Troy Weaver was so willing to trade him, because you quite literally traded him at his lowest value that he's ever had. You did not maximize the value you got out of Saddiq Bey. You drafted him at what, number 20 something? Number 19, 20?
I think 19. We can fact check that, but I think it was 19.
He looked pretty solid in his rookie year, looked really good in his second year, and you thought, hey, maybe we have a building block here. And then this year he fell so far off of a table that his value became almost nothing. A guy who's played 60 games and looks like a total bust. Now, I will say this about Wiseman. Part of the reason he hasn't been able to break the rotation in Golden State is because of injury. Part of the reason he hasn't been able to break the rotation in Golden State is because he's so young and they needed somebody to play championship caliber basketball from day one. And a guy who is 19 years old.
It's kind of like Darko in Detroit. Like it's
right.
You're not a team competing for a championship is not in a position to develop young raw talent.
Right. And they're not going to develop young raw talent. How many times have we seen that succeed? Almost never. Like James Wiseman was kind of set up to fail there, in my opinion. I think Saddiq Bey, however, was given every opportunity to succeed here. I will say I don't think he got the best coaching. I don't think he got the best people in his corner to help him. And I don't think he had the best supporting cast to help him develop either.
Yeah, I mean, James Edwards posted an article about the trade, and an excerpt from the article, he said, quote, on the floor, Bay's style of play was starting to wear on some in Detroit's organization. He did have the ability to score in bunches and did so often, but his shot selection and at times tunnel vision went against what the team wanted to see from him as a player. The Pistons wanted Bay to do more by doing less. Bay was interested in expanding his game.
Do you know how bad Saddiq Bey's tunnel vision was? I have an actual statistic. I have an actual statistic.
One of my favorite tweets was there was one play. What game was it? Damn it! But essentially, I think it was the Bucks game. But essentially, like it was when I was telling you about when it happened. Was Saddiq Bey was driving to the rim, and Jalen Duren's man rolls off him to guard Saddiq, and Jalen Duren has no one stopping him from just slamming the ball into the hoop, and Saddiq just takes the contested shot at the rim and misses. Like, Duren just standing there like, what the hell?
It was I can't exactly tell you which game, but the article I'm reading from Pistons Powered is actually calling back to that exact same play. Jalen Duren wide open under the basket. Saddiq Bey takes a wildly contested shot. I remember
texting you when it happens, and this is the exact thing that Saddiq Bey needs to work on. But.
So to give you the actual statistic about how bad his tunnel vision was, on possessions where he drove the basketball, he passed out of that drive 22% of the time.
Jesus.
That is like obscenely low.
Yeah, and in a season like this season, especially when probably the only other scoring threat on the floor would have been Bogey.
Who is an outside shooter.
Yeah.
Where when you're driving, you find the guys in the corner. You find the guys in the wing.
What I'm saying, the fact that you didn't have outside of Bogey, that was your only outside scoring threat that you probably had in the lineup with Saddiq.
Isaiah Stewart.
So they were probably teams were crashing when Saddiq would take it to the rim, and Saddiq was just not finding the outlet.
Right.
You would just take it.
The issue is like, we talked about when the good things we said about Saddiq Bey when we drafted him, when he looked good in his first 2 seasons, where he seems to be an effective spot-up shooter. Well, he's gone completely away from that. He seems to be an effective defender on the wing. He's entirely gone away from that to where he is now one of the worst defenders on the team. And he seems to have high basketball IQ. Well, somebody who drives and only passes out of a drive 22% of the time has such low basketball IQ, it's unplayable. Saddiq Bey has taken every single positive of his game.
All of those things you said, though, are coachable, right? Like, this is something that he had coming in and seemingly lost in the league.
But we are now talking about a situation where the Pistons are now looking to win basketball games, and they don't really have a ton more time to be patient with guys like Saddiq Bey. Next year's kind of it. So if Saddiq Bey doesn't become, and mind you, he's also eligible for an extension where his final year of his contract is next year.
Yeah, theoretically the Pistons had, it's not like this is like do or die in terms of if we don't get him now, you risk losing him for nothing or we'll have to extend him. But you did have that looming. And reports I guess Troy Weaver thought this, there was no recovering Saddiq Bey's value going into next year's trade deadline, for example.
Reports were saying that he wants Keldon Johnson-like money, which he's not worth that at all. And
Calvin Johnson?
What?
You say Calvin Johnson?
Keldon.
Oh, about to say. Calvin Johnson is playing in the celebrity game, by the way.
Is he?
Yep. So is DK Metcalf.
Does he dunk?
So is DK Metcalf.
Interesting.
but they're not on the same team. I wanted them to be on the same team so bad.
Lob City. Now,
But it'll be
Keldon
interesting to
Johnson's
see.
contract, to give you an idea, is like 17.5 to 20 mil a year. So Saddiq Bey was never going to be worth that.
Yeah, I was.
Saddiq
Now,
Bey,
if you
I was
told me
thinking,
after his rookie season that by the time his extension was up, you'd only have to pay him 17 mil a year, I'd be like, steal. I expect him to develop way beyond that by the time we have to extend him.
Well, now we're talking about the exact opposite, where he's gone so far downhill that. Now, here's kind of my mindset here with this trade. I get where Troy Weaver's coming from with the whole contract situation with Saddiq Bey. You don't want to lose him for nothing. However, I'm kind of in the belief where, like, he's one of those players where he can be high value enough to where if his game returns to form, he's worth signing to a big extension like that. And if it doesn't, you let him walk. Like, it's okay. Players can walk if they don't work out. I get the mindset of you don't want to lose him for nothing, but in all reality, he's providing you nothing. So what are you actually losing there? Time was running out on Saddiq Bey. He was clearly not making his teammates happy. And you could argue maybe he was stunting the growth of some of his teammates a bit. Maybe Jaden Ivey could have gotten some of those open shots. Maybe Isaiah Stewart could have gotten some of those open shots.
It is interesting, though, because like we were talking about this exact same narrative last year with Jeremy Grant, saying that he could be starting to grow with the Saddiq Bey, and now we have neither.
Had some effect on Saddiq Bey's game.
Would you rather? So, like, I just pulled up like what the full deal was, just as a refresher. So we traded Saddiq Bey to the Warriors for Wiseman. Wiseman then flipped Bey to the Hawks for 5 second-round picks.
The Warriors,
and then
not Wiseman.
And then what's up?
You said Wiseman flipped Bey to the Hawks.
Sorry, the Warriors flipped Bey to the Hawks for 5 second-round picks, and then the Warriors took those 5 second-round picks and rerouted them along with Kevin Knox to Portland for Gary Payton II. So would you rather have had 5 second-round picks or Wiseman? Just out of curiosity.
I think the NBA has shown you that second-round picks do not matter. So I would have rather take the flyer on James Wiseman.
Who was it this deadline that got traded for 4 second-round picks?
Nobody good.
It was someone halfway decent, but I don't know. Anyway,
Eric Gordon, like 38-year-old Eric Gordon.
Could have been. Honestly, it could have been.
It probably was.
I love how John Wall got traded back to Houston.
He's probably punching the air right now. I'd be so pissed if I was him. But like, I once upon a time loved Saddiq Bey. Like I loved him as a player. However, like I immediate reaction, I was pissed about this trade. However, diving into Saddiq Bey this year, I see some really poor qualities that may be beyond repair. Like the tunnel vision, which the tunnel vision actually does go back to last year. We saw a lot of it last year. He was just far more
It goes
efficient.
back to ever since he started trying to expand his game.
Right.
Which, again, you need to coach the guy up to, I don't know.
Well, we
anyway,
don't have the coach here to do that. He's pissing off his teammates, so I'd rather just not have that situation.
So,
but also, you know, we've talked about how bad the Pistons' defense is this year. He's a big reason for it. So when you have Bogey and Bey out on the floor at the same time,
I believe I saw something somewhere where I think Ivy, Saddiq, and Bogey were all like bottom 10 in the league in terms of defensive rating or defensive efficiency.
I am not surprised in the slightest.
Definition of Detroit basketball.
New age Detroit basketball, sure.
But let's talk about Wiseman real quick. So the main issue that a lot of people took about trading for Wiseman outside of the perceived value between the two is Wiseman's fit on this basketball team. And there is a point to that. Like,
there is, absolutely.
Unless Wiseman suddenly shows that he has a 3-point game that the Warriors didn't allow him to display, which he did hit a 3, I think, this year. But unless he suddenly shows that he has an ability to stretch the floor for some reason, I don't know how him and Duren would be able to play together. And like if Wiseman starts blossoming, the only player whose minutes I feel like that's going to impact is Duren, which we really wouldn't want either. But there is, on the plus side of this coin, one thing is we've been absolutely atrocious on the inside defensively and rebounding. So maybe there is something to trying to play a twin tower lineup. And then 2, I would argue that to not look at this trade purely in terms of fit, but in terms of just a flippable asset, aka the standard Troy Weaver reclamation project.
You very well could end up with the flippable asset with James Wiseman. I'll be honest with you. I think at worst that's what you get out of this. Because whereas when I was talking about James Wiseman, he never got a chance to develop in Golden State. He was never given the opportunity because he was forced to play championship caliber basketball from day one. And to ask that of a 19-year-old raw talent, he's never going to be able to develop his game. He has to form his game around the championship level teammates that he has. So he's never going to be able to flourish in that. In Detroit, he's going to be allowed to make mistakes. He's going to be allowed to grow. He's going to be allowed to get better. And Draymond Green actually alluded to a lot of this on a podcast. You know, he feels bad for Wiseman because he was never allowed to develop in Golden State. Versus in Detroit, he'll get that opportunity. So let me give you a little bit of an idea, though.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that Troy Weaver's trying to mold the Pistons off of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, I think you referenced him specifically in one of his interviews.
A top high level backcourt in, you know, you have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland in Cleveland. You have Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey here. And a twin tower lineup where neither of the guys really stretch the floor that much. Evan Mobley, and to give you an example, you know, people probably think Evan Mobley stretches the floor a little bit better than James Wiseman does. Not really.
Not really.
James Wiseman, or sorry, not James Wiseman. Evan Mobley in this season averages 1.2 3-point attempts per game and makes 20.6% of them. That's pretty terrible. James Wiseman in his rookie year, which is really the only year that you have a real sample size of, when he played 21 and a half minutes a game, he averaged 1 3 a game where he made 31.6% of them. So Wiseman may actually be able to stretch the floor a little bit better than Mobley. So if you're talking about a twin tower situation, it works in Cleveland. Why can't it work here? I don't want to see this affect Isaiah Stewart's minutes too much, and I don't want to see this affect Jalen Duren's minutes because, frankly, Jalen Duren is the steal of the draft for me right now, outside of maybe Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
So as long as he's not taking away minutes from Duren, especially, I'm willing to give this a shot. I'm willing to see 2 7-footers down low for Detroit that are athletic, that are rim runners, pick and roll guys, and guys who can go get up and grab a lob and grab a rebound.
Yeah.
Block some shots, be a force.
Do we have any word on Duren's injury?
I haven't heard anything, no. Wiseman has not made a 3 yet this year, by the way.
Oh, no, you made 1 this year.
No, not according to Basketball Reference. He's got 0.0 makes. He had a left hand injury.
No, I'm talking about Duren, though. Remember Duren got hurt last game.
That tweaks ankle on Sunday.
Oh, he practiced fully today.
Okay, well, there you go. I'm willing to give this a chance just because this season's a lost season to begin with. Wiseman will be cheaper to re-sign than Saddiq Bey would have. I'm still not necessarily happy with the trade because I'm not a big believer in the twin tower setup where you can't stretch the floor with either one of them. But
you just because we're trying to put some kind of positive spin on this trade doesn't mean either of us like the trade.
Right. Like, I would have honestly rather just give Saddiq Bey a chance to get out of his own way, and if he doesn't, you let him walk. If that happens, that happens. Because in all reality, let's say Saddiq Bey doesn't really get that much better next year. He takes a minor step up, maybe fixes his defense a little bit for effort reasons or whatever. Don't you think he could still get James Wiseman next year?
Yeah, I could see it.
Because I don't really think the Warriors are... Because even if Saddiq Bey doesn't get any better, Wiseman's not going to his value's not going to grow anymore either. So what's the difference? Yeah. So I think you could have gotten him next year, frankly. I don't know. I just would have rather see Saddiq Bey try to work things out here instead of just letting him go. But, you know, it is what it is. Now we're looking at a situation where we've got 2 7-footers down low that can play defense. The other issue I have with it is not only do you have 2 7-footers down low, but you also have 2 guards who one of them is one of the better post guards in the league, and the other one likes to dribble drive. That's a lot of bodies in the paint.
Yeah.
To be effective.
No, you're definitely going to need to. There's 2 things you need to look for in this offseason / draft is we need some floor stretchers again, and we're going to need some defensive stalwarts. AKA the traditional 3-and-D player. Anyway, So
which may end up being Isaiah Livers, by the way. Troy Weaver loves him. Dwayne Casey loves him. I don't.
I think you're gonna see an extended look at Isaiah Livers down the stretch to close out the season.
Who else you got there?
Yeah,
you don't have Kevin Knox to play anymore.
Take this with, I guess, a grain of salt because I haven't been able to find the initial report, but Detroit Bad Boys published an article saying, according to reporting from ESPN's Mark Spears, the initial plan for the Pistons, once Wiseman arrives, is to give the 20-year-old big the starting center job. What is your take on that?
I hate it. If that's the case where they relegate Duren to the bench, I absolutely hate it. There is zero reason to push Jalen Duren out of that spot. He's been fantastic. The dude just dropped 30 and 17, for God's sakes. Like, there is zero reason.
Yeah. But again, like, take it with a grain of salt because I haven't been able to find the initial report, and obviously we've received no indication of that from the Pistons themselves. So
right. I have seen other reports that say that the plan is to start James Wiseman. That doesn't mean starting center or that he's supplanting Jalen Duren, but if Jalen Duren is relegated to a bench role because of James Wiseman, I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that this team could make. Because Jalen Duren has done everything to deserve that job right now.
They play Wednesday, so we'll find out. By the time this podcast comes out, you guys in listener land might have the answer to that question.
Right. What are your thoughts? Like, what will your reaction be?
If he was a starter?
Yeah.
No, I'd hate it. Again, Jalen Duren has proved that he's earned the starting role. You're not playing Duren at the 4. Neither are you playing Wiseman at the 4, unless Wiseman suddenly has an ability to stretch the floor that we didn't know about.
But the thing is maybe we have to stop looking at it as he needs to be able to stretch the floor because the Cavs big two don't.
Yeah,
and it works. They essentially play two centers.
Right now, I would not say that Jalen Duren has the interior expertise that someone like a Jared Allen does to be able to coexist within our. But
Jared Allen is also
big.
like 5 years older than Jalen Duren.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think when you're talking about a 20-year-old and 19-year-old both playing interior, I think it might be a little bit dicier, at least for now. So my expectation would have been to see Wiseman get 20 to 25 a night to start. And like 25,
which is
I feel
what
like
he
is
was
quite
getting
a
in
bit.
his rookie year.
Yeah.
Where he averaged 11 and a half points and 5.8 rebounds to go with 0.9 blocks. He was getting 21 and a half minutes a game, which it's not bad. It's not what I would expect out of a 7-footer.
Now, situationally, to try them both out together, sure. If we're in a situation where we're getting killed on the inside, then by all means, let's roll the dice, see what happens. It's a lost season anyways. But yeah, I feel like it just sends a bad message to Duren that you trade for a 20-year-old unproven center and then immediately give him the starting job.
Right. It would show me that this team has not a single hand on the pulse of the organization, not a single hand on the pulse of the team. They have no idea what's working and what isn't. Like it would show me that there's just no direction with this team.
Yep.
Like I would be so disappointed to see that. And frankly, let's be nice to the Pistons. Let's say they're not dumb enough to bench Duren for James Wiseman. Okay. Let's say they are playing a twin tower setup with two bigs, and Isaiah Stewart's the one that's relegated to the bench. What's your thoughts there?
I don't hate it as much because, one, it wouldn't even be the first time Isaiah Stewart has been a bench big this season.
He's also been fairly effective off the bench at times.
Yeah, and I think we still need that energy coming off the bench. Saddiq was the guy that would give the bench a spark before, and now that he's gone, your bench is awfully thin. So I would not hate it, but I would also have to see how the Twin Tower lineup actually plays.
Right. Obviously, you can't pass judgment until we see how those two play together. But I'm willing to give it a shot. Like I'm pretty much willing to give anything a shot at this point for this.
It's a lost season.
It's a lost season. It's a wasted season. You know, we didn't get to see Cade develop. We don't really get to see Cade and Jaden develop any type of chemistry. Like it's a wasted season entirely. So
it's such a difficult.
If they told me that tomorrow they're going to come out with James Wiseman running the point, I'd say, Screw it, try it. Let's see what happens.
You're kind of like they tried Luke Kennard at the point in Summer League one year.
Yeah. Like, try it. Let's see.
Like, all right, it's Summer League. Go for it. Have fun.
But let's see. Offense runs through Jalen Duren. All right, let's see it. Like, it's just, I don't love the trade. I think it'll be inconsequential in the end. Mm-hmm. I don't really think Atlanta's a great fit for Saddiq Bey. I think he actually would have fit pretty nicely in Golden State over there a little bit better, but I think it'll be inconsequential in the end.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think James Wiseman's going to be the star he was drafted to be. One, he doesn't stay healthy enough for that. Two, I don't think we have the right people here to develop him, to get him right.
I personally think this is Detroit's. This is Troy Weaver's biggest gamble of in trade wise. Since in his Detroit tenure,
you could make an argument that
this is his first time trading one of his own draft picks. I mean,
it is. You could make an argument that the Jeremy Grant trade was one of his biggest gambles.
Well, it was a signing. It wasn't a trade. Oh, you're saying trading him away? Trading
him away to then go and get a 19-year-old center.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a pretty big gamble. But either way, yeah, it probably is his biggest gamble to date, which in the grand scheme of things, gambling to trade away Saddiq Bey to bring in a guy like James Wiseman who could be a reclamation project, that's not really a very big gamble. Which,
Are you tired of reclamation projects yet?
Yes. I'm tired of it because reclamation.
I'm tired of being in the position for a reclamation project to make sense. Is what exactly. I'm tired of.
Like, if you're bringing in reclamation projects, you're not winning basketball games.
Yeah, like I hate that it still makes sense to do this at this stage, but it does.
Right, I 100% agree. Like it drives me nuts that we're still losing games game in, game out. Like I've said it several times. I don't care about draft picks anymore. I don't. That like this is it. This is the last year where I care about where we draft in the lottery. Beyond this, if we're drafting in the lottery, I'm pissed.
Yeah, it was funny actually today as I was leaving work. Two of my coworkers were talking about the Pistons, and like they saw me leaving. Like, Andrew, how bad is the Pistons defense this season? And I go,
I think it's actually been shown it's the worst defense statistically in Pistons history.
I go, you remember when the Lions, like the first 6 games this season, how bad that defense was, and you're just walking around wondering, like, could it get any worse? Now imagine off in the distance you hear Detroit. That's it getting worse right there. That's how bad it is.
Go far down Woodward to hear it either. It's just, I'm hoping this helps them I'm hoping it helps them with their interior defense. It's gotta, right?
Not that Wiseman's been that great of an interior defender so far in his career. He's gotta be better than
what we got.
Yeah.
Like Isaiah Stewart, I love the guy. He brings a lot of energy. His interior defense is pretty poor.
He's better guarding 4s than he is 5s.
Yes. He's also only 6'8".
Yeah.
Jalen Duren, inexperienced, young, hasn't been the greatest interior defender. However, he is able to get a block shot. But I do think Duren will be a good interior defender in due time.
I agree.
Beyond that, what the hell do you got down there?
If Isaiah Stewart had the athleticism of a guy like Jarris Walker, maybe we could be talking about him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't.
So, a little hint at where I'm looking after the draft. Anyways.
I'm not ready to talk draft yet.
Yeah, I know. We're
not ready yet.
It's way too early. We're not even talking Lions draft yet, let alone.
We could start. We're not allowed to start.
I wait till March.
What's sad is this upcoming Sunday is the furthest Sunday away from football that you will have all year.
Yep.
That's a sad time.
Mm-hmm.
I already miss football.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a sad Sunday.
Yep.
But speaking of football and the Lions, let's go ahead and get on into our next topic here.
A topic that I never thought I would ever get to do.
Not in my lifetime.
Ladies and gentlemen, FanDuel has released the Super Bowl rankings for 2024. Your Lions are tied for number 9.
What is it?
Your Lions
plus 1,200?
Plus 2,500.
2,500, okay.
Your Lions are in the top 10.
And Super Bowl odds.
In terms of Super Bowl favorites.
And NFL.com came out with their NFL power rankings today going into next season. Lions are number 9. How's that feel? We're a top 10 team.
Let me just...
How sad is that we're this excited about being top 10?
Can I walk up from where we are, and I want you to tell me, are we better or worse than this team going into next season? I know we won't even know what they look like next season, but just speculate.
Yeah, let's do it.
The teams we're tied with are Jacksonville and New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I agree with the Jaguars. I think their quarterback situation is better.
Well, let's not forget we mauled them when they played.
Yeah, but that was before Trevor Lawrence really remembered how to play football.
Yeah.
He was
we woke him up. We
did. We literally did. But I like ATN better than any of our running backs. I really like Trevor Lawrence. Like I think Trevor Lawrence is an absolute star. Like I think this year was his breakout. Next year's his dominance. Like this kid's good.
But on the Jets side, their quarterback situation is so woeful.
Yeah,
and I don't see it changing going into next season. I don't see any
unless
Messiah
they bring
coming
in Aaron
in.
Rodgers, which would be hilarious.
They're trying.
Derek Carr.
So.
Derek Carr's another one, and that actually could be. I mean, Derek Carr's a huge upgrade. So is Rodgers, obviously. So that would make their situation different because they got some weapons there. Garrett Wilson's a really nice player. Elijah Moore coming back is also a big deal for them. Their defense is what's impressive to me. Like their defense is quite good, like damn good. So I can see it defensively, but if their quarterback situation does not change, I think the Lions are a better football team than the Jets.
But not the Jaguars, what you're saying.
The Jaguars, I think we're on par with.
Okay.
And that's purely based on speculation.
Yep. Yeah, this is all purely speculation. We don't even know what these teams are going to look like over the next year.
Right.
How about the team that seems to always be better on paper than they are in real life, the Los Angeles Chargers?
I do think Chargers are better than Lions. I like the Chargers a lot. I like Justin Herbert a lot. I believe in that team.
Keenan Allen might be gone.
That is a big blow. However, I mean, having Mike Williams, they still have weapons there. You can't beat Eckler. Like, dude's a stud.
They did get rid of Lombardi, so
they did. I think that you'll see an upgrade with that offense going into next year. I do think that team is a little bit better than the Lions, yes.
Here's one that I find interesting. The Baltimore Ravens. Because of the fact that there's a lot of speculation that Lamar Jackson's going to be gone.
Right. If I had to make a pick on whether or not Lamar Jackson will be in a Ravens uniform next year, I do think he'll be in a Ravens uniform. They did just bring in the offensive coordinator from Georgia, which is kind of a weird fit for Lamar Jackson because he's used to working with quarterbacks like Stetson Bennett, who are essentially statues in the pocket, and Lamar Jackson can't really play a pro-style offense. So it's kind of weird, but if I had to say whether or not Lamar would be in a Ravens uniform next year, I'd probably wager that he will be. I don't see him moving. I think there's too many
Ravens are like the most overrated team in the league. I thought they were overrated this year too. Like
they were a little bit, but I mean, you also were talking about a situation where the Ravens dealt with a quarterback injury and a pretty bad one. I do think that Lamar Jackson's arm is done. I think you're going to start seeing that team downturn a little bit. I can see the Lions being a better football team than that.
Yeah. And I think that's about the end of where you can make any kind of sensical argument. Because after that, it's the Cowboys, Bengals, Niners, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs. I don't think we can really make a logical argument there.
Where do you
those
rank
teams
the
right
Lions
now.
and all that?
I honestly say that we are better than Jacksonville and Baltimore. I think with a new OC, the Chargers can probably improve next year enough that I'd be a little hesitant to put us above them. But I think we are better than Jacksonville, Baltimore, and the Jets.
That's fair. It's absolutely fair. Like Jacksonville's one that.
So that would put us at 7
Jacksonville, I say,
9.
can be equal with the Lions based on what I expect the progression of the team to be. Yeah. I think the Lions, without the progression, are if the Jags stay exactly the way they are going into next year, I think the Lions are a better football team. Same with the Lions. But if the Jacksonville Jaguars continue to improve the way I expect, I think they're every bit as good as the Lions, if not even better.
Yeah,
just because of that potential superstar at quarterback there, that's a big threat.
Yeah. So in theory, because we're tied with Jacksonville and New York Jets, the only team I could argue us actually jumping is the Ravens. I'm not going to make the argument for the Chargers.
No, I'm not going to make an argument for the Chargers either. Like I think the Chargers right here, right now, are just the better football team. They just can't seem to close things out.
I do expect better things next season with Joe Lombardi out. So
I do too.
I do think he was a core issue there.
He sucked in Detroit. What made them think he was going to be good there? And that was Detroit when they were like good.
Yeah, when we had an offense. Yeah,
right.
What about the power rankings? Does that look similar? Are those the teams above us?
Let's see: Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, Niners, Bills, Cowboys, Jaguars, Chargers, Lions. So they have us ahead of the Vikings, Ravens, Packers. Oh god, it just jumped to the top. Steelers, Giants, Dolphins, Jets. So they moved the Jets down quite a bit. But they do have the Jaguars right ahead of us and the Chargers right ahead of us. So kind of in line with where I'm at there. They do have us ahead of the Vikings, which I firmly believe. Dallas being ahead of us is a little bit interesting as well because of the way that Dak played this year. Does he rebound? But I don't think you're making an argument for the Bills, Niners, Bengals, Eagles, or Chiefs.
And that defense in Dallas is just on its own is good enough to really make an argument.
Yeah, you can make that argument. I do think they're going to be losing some key pieces to that defense, though. I don't know if they're bringing the band back entirely. The Giants, they could be losing Saquon Barkley, I believe. You never know with Daniel Jones, but again, their defense, that's a defense that's near the top of the league. The Dolphins are an interesting situation because of Tua. Who knows if he's going to be the quarterback there next year? Who knows if he's even going to have a brain that is working? If he never plays football again, does he have a lawsuit? I think he does.
Depends what kind of waivers they have to sign to even play the game.
I think he does based on the fact that they straight up ignored obvious signs of concussion and put him back in games clearly concussed, which led to other more concussions.
Yeah. I don't know how the legality of it all works. Like, if
I don't know either.
I don't like if what if he like willingly went back in the game? Like, then
the NFL is supposed to keep guys out for that. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Yeah,
he has cleared concussion protocol for the NFL, so it's probably a moot point anyways. It's just whether or not he's going to be playing in a Dolphins uniform.
I think the more dicey case, even though it's not a brain injury related, is what Portland did with Gary Payne Jr.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that was some shady shit.
And then not saying anything when they trade.
Right. We are eventually going to be getting into draft conversations as in regards to the Lions and obviously eventually the Pistons. Like, the Lions have an interesting scenario, have a bunch of interesting scenarios in front of them with the draft upcoming. They have a situation where you could stand pat at 6 and 18, take both your picks, round out your defense. There is the possibility of a quarterback being there that you might like. There is the possibility of going after a running back early, rounding out your secondary with both picks I've seen, or there's the possibility of trading both picks to move up to get a guy like Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. I will say this. Those are the two guys I would be okay with the Lions packaging both picks to go up and get. Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. That's it.
So, currently looking at Pro Football Focus's most recent mock draft, they have Carter at 3, Will Anderson at 4. The Chicago Bears traded it up to get him at 4. And then number 5.
The Bears have the number 1 overall pick.
Sorry. The Colts. Wait, yeah, sorry. The Colts and the Bears traded picks.
Swapped picks? Okay.
Yep. Anyway, and then number 5, Tyree Wilson. So
Tyree Wilson's a guy that I like as well. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Those are 3 guys that I actually like, and they all go 3 through 5.
Right. If that were to happen, I would probably cry.
I'm hoping someone reaches for CJ Stroud. Like, they have Bryce Young, Will Levis going 1 and 2.
I'm kind of surprised about Levis at 2. Bryce Young at 1. That's no surprise. However, I do think the combine measurements are going to be extremely important for Bryce Young. If he doesn't come in at 6 feet tall, he's in trouble. He's going to drop and potentially be overtaken by CJ Stroud or Will Levis at that point. It's because a lot of teams are going to be shying away from Bryce Young if that happens. So who knows? But do you think the NFC? Because based on these power rankings in the playoff and the Super Bowl odds, NFC North runs through Detroit. Do you think it does?
Yes.
If Aaron Rodgers comes back?
Yes.
If the Vikings keep the band
Aaron Rodgers
together.
was there and he didn't beat us a single time this year. So
true. If the Vikings keep the band together?
Yes. The band was a fraud.
I agree. Lions actually should have beaten that team twice last year.
Let's be honest. We ran the NFC North this year. We didn't win the NFC North, but we ran the NFC North this year.
We did.
And I don't see any of those 3 teams getting. I see both the Vikings and the Packers being on the downtrend, and the Bears are not going to catch up.
Bears
with
are like
4
years away. Like, they have too many holes. I saw something that was kind of interesting, and I don't want to get too far into like Bears Ravens radio, but like if you were an NFL GM and you had Lamar Jackson on your roster,
yeah,
the Bears came a calling, said we'll trade you Justin Fields for Lamar Jackson straight up. Would you do it? And I also want you to give your answer for the other side too.
Man, like I wish I wish I was in the know on Lamar Jackson's health.
Right.
But just off of right now, I don't think you're winning with either quarterback. Probably Justin. I'd probably accept it if I'm the Ravens, because I do feel like probably in another year you might lose Lamar Jackson for nothing. So
Right. I honestly, I would say if I'm the Ravens, I would say yes in a minute. If I'm the Bears, I'd say no.
if I'm the Bears, I'd rather flip Justin Fields for draft picks and actually draft a different quarterback. But
Not this year, you wouldn't.
well, yeah,
Maybe next year.
You have the number one overall pick. So
Right. Justin Fields showed towards the end of the year that he might have something there. He looked a lot better late than he did early. He also didn't really have weapons or an offensive line. So, put some weapons around him, give him an O-line. Maybe we actually see something out of Justin Fields. But yes, I would rather have Fields than Lamar Jackson right here, right now. I don't think Jackson's shoulder is... I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to be a good... Like, I picture Lamar Jackson the way Cam Newton's career went. Where just the one big injury just destroyed it. He's never the same player. Two bigger guys, fast-running quarterbacks that had arms that could throw downfield. But as soon as the arms started to go because of punishment and injury, they were done. And I see that starting to happen with Lamar Jackson. So if I'm the Ravens, I'm trying to get out of that as soon as possible. Now, the Lions, I do not want to see them trade for Lamar Jackson. I've heard that speculated a lot.
No.
I'll be straight with you. I'm good with Jared Goff being the guy next year. I'm good with Jared Goff being the guy the year after that. If we manage to find a way to move up from 32 to 1 in the draft, notice what I did there, and go grab Caleb Williams, I'm good with that. Let him sit for a year, learn behind Jared Goff, or Jared Goff backs him up. I don't care. But Jared Goff had the best season of his career, and it was a damn good one.
Yeah, you did.
There's no reason to replace the guy right now.
Yeah, unless someone came in offering you a king's ransom, and even then I would need...
With how many quarterback needy teams? Do you think there's teams calling for Jared Goff right now?
I think there would be more teams calling if we looked like we were in a better position to give him up, if we had some kind of replacement set for him, but we don't. So I think that teams might try to call, but I think that ups the price on our end. And
if the Dolphins came a calling offering you Tua Tagovailoa, not necessarily for Jared Goff, but offered you Tua, would you bring Tua in? Probably would cost you a first-round pick this year and maybe a first next year. Why are you asking about
all these players that I feel like might have their careers ending soon with their injury?
Because these are the quarterbacks that are on the move this offseason, or expected to be on the move. And the Lions have been rumored to be in the conversation for a quarterback this offseason, whether it be through the draft or wherever. I
think I'm staying put. As much as I do like Tua, it's too risky. It's way too risky for me.
I might. I'd be definitely curious about Tua because he is a talented quarterback. You don't really need to have him develop because he's already experienced. He's already a good quarterback. So he's kind of the guy that you could plug in right away and provided you have the offensive line, which you do, to keep him upright, it could work out pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Now, I heard a mock, it wasn't really a mock draft, but a mock pick to the Lions today that I thought was really interesting. And at first I was like, why would we do that? But then the more I thought about it, I kind of went, this kind of makes sense. And it was the Lions going and continuing to add to his strength and bringing in Peter Skoronski, the Northwestern guard or the Northwestern outside tackle that can play all over the line. Mind you, he can play inside and out to take your offensive line and make it elite to even more elite. He would fill the immediate hole at right guard. Taylor Decker's going to be needing...
This is with which pick, you said?
6, because he's going in the top 10, probably.
Oh, okay.
Or you trade back to 8, because there has been rumors of us doing that with the Panthers, I believe. Drafting Peter Skoronski and making your offensive line probably the number 1 O-line in football. He would fill in at guard right away, and then when Taylor Decker asks more money, it doesn't hurt as bad to let him walk. Because you have Peter Skoronski and you have Penei Sewell to bookend your tackles for the future. It was just an interesting thought.
I don't I don't hate it. But the way I would approach it is, like you said, with if the Panthers interested in trading to 6, I would essentially be waiting it out to see what does my board look like
Sorry,
at
it would
6.
be 9, not 8, 9.
Which I still
Panthers
think
are
you
9.
should be okay. I would be
In
waiting
this
out to see
mock, he's
what
going
does
12 in CBS's recent mock.
I would be trying to wait and see what my board looks like at 6. If one of Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, Will Anderson are on the board.
Let's say all 3 of those are gone. Let's say that mock draft, the PFF one you looked at, has all 3 of those guys gone. You're sitting at 6. The Panthers are coming to Colin. They want to get CJ Stroud.
I'll rip it.
I'd probably do it too. Shore up my O-line with Skoronski, maybe with that extra couple of picks I get from the Panthers, because you're probably getting a second and a third out of that to go back from 6 to 9. I use one of those along with my 18th to move up into the middle of the first round. Like the middle teens, 14, 15, somewhere around there, and grab a different edge rusher or the top corner or something like that. Yeah, I might do that. Because then that O-line, and then if you brought in Tua, that O-line, he may never fall down. No, I would give Jared Goff all damn day to throw the football and allow guys like Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown to just get open, because they would have all day to do it.
Oh, yeah. All right, I got one more mock for you before we close out.
Yep.
But this is the interesting scenario. This is NFL.com's latest mock.
Okay.
With Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis all going to the top 5. Meaning you have one of those 3 there for you at 6, and it's not Will Anderson or Jalen Carter.
See, those would be. So which one went 5?
Will Levis.
Which one went 4?
Jalen Carter went 3. Will Anderson went 4.
I'll be honest with you, I might be trading up.
Mm-hmm.
I might be to 4 to go get Will
And
Anderson.
It's again another situation where Chicago traded back to 4.
I might be willing to get them to go back further.
But assuming that shakes out that way, are you taking Tyree Wilson at 6?
Yes, I am taking Tyree Wilson. I like Tyree Wilson a lot. I think he's a guy who can be a game breaker for you. You can move him along the line quite a bit. I think Tyree Wilson along this defensive line with James Houston, with Aiden Hutchinson, with a hopefully healthy Romeo Okwara, Aleem McNeil, I think this D-line would be a force to reckon with.
NFL.com disagrees.
Really? Don't tell me we're taking CJ. Oh, CJ Stroud's gone.
Yep.
We're taking Anthony Richardson.
Nope. Anthony
God.
Richardson doesn't go to 13 in this draft.
That's about where he's been going.
And just so you know, Tyree Wilson gets picked at 9 in this draft.
So who do we go after? Who do we get?
Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon.
No. I get the mindset of the corner. I don't value corners that way. I'm sorry. And the fact that the thing is the fact that Sauce Gardner did what he did last year, being taken where he was, is going to make people believe a corner this high in the draft is a good pick. Guys like Sauce Gardner are generational talents. They don't come every year. You don't see one of those guys in every draft. You see them in very few drafts. The Revises, the Patrick Petersons, the Sauce Gardners of the world. They don't happen every draft. So because of that, I don't think you can afford to take a guy like Christian Gonzalez when Tyree Wilson is available on the board. I don't. You want to trade back to 9 with the Panthers and go get Christian Gonzalez then? Yeah, that's fine. That's a little bit later. That's fine. I don't love a top 10 pick going for a corner, but it's better than 6.
And then this draft has us taking at 18 tight end Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame.
Get out of no. We proved last year we don't need a big time tight end. Between James Mitchell, Shane Zylstra, and I always forget the third one's name. Ben Johnson. No.
Oh, Brock
Wright.
Brock Wright. I keep trying to say Brock Purdy for some reason.
Between those 3, we had oodles of touchdowns. I don't think we need a big time tight end to make this offense click. It already was clicking.
Was this quite literally your like F scenario?
Yes. Yes. I don't hate the Christian Gonzalez pick. I just don't think we should be drafting corner at number 6.
And it's also the idea of taking him when Tyree Wilson was on the board.
Yeah. It would not get a good grade for me. The tight end pick alone would get an F. Like that alone warrants UNF in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm done taking tight ends in the first
And it's not
round.
like
No
you're
more.
taking, and it's not like you're taking Dalton Kincaid either. You're not taking the type.
No, you're not taking the game breaker.
Anyway,
I'll pass on that entirely. Who did
goodbye
this one?
NFL.com. This is NFL.com. The exact person is Chad Reuter,
See, I usually like Chad Reuter.
right?
Why did you do this to me? I was gonna say he deserves to be fired, but like he puts out some good stuff sometimes. Anyways, that is a call for this week, guys. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed. We will catch you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. You can follow at Detroit Sports Podcast, our network, I guess. Yeah, our network at Detroit Podcast on Twitter. Thank you to them as always. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you next week. Have a good one. Peace out.
Peace.